You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast. It's episode 68 of season number 3. Javy Baez returns to Wrigley. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on all the socials. Fly the W670 on Twitter, Instagram, and Fly the W on Facebook, or you can email us at flythew670@gmail.com. All right, Crawly, not exactly what we hoped for. We wanted a sweep, but the Cubs were able to take 2 of 3 while welcoming Javy Baez back to Wrigley. And you, young man, were there for the welcome back party on Tuesday night.
Yeah, it definitely was a lot of fun, and we'll talk a little bit about it segment 2. But it was, it really kind of gets you nostalgic every time those guys come in. And again, I've said this numerous times. I don't care if it's Willson Contreras. I don't care if it's Javy Baez, Kris Bryant. I'm never going to boo these guys. I'm never going to boo them. I thank them so much for what they gave to the city of Chicago, for Cub fans everywhere, and it was a lot of fun. I got to see a victory, which I was happy about, but it wasn't the sweep we were looking for. But just keep winning series and hope for the best. That's where we are at this point, right?
Right. Before we go any further, I know I put this out on 670 The Score. You called in. We did not get to your call. Unfortunately, had too many guests by the time you called. But were you there when Kris Bryant came back?
Yeah, I was there. Kris Bryant. I'm trying to think who else.
Were you there? Were you there for Miggy?
For Miggy, yes, versus Toronto, Willson Contreras.
Okay.
I've been to a lot of them.
So on television anyway, and through the 670 The Score speaker on Alexa, that one seemed the loudest the other night to me. They all were loud, but that just seemed like the most energy, the most flash bulbs. I know Kris Bryant was in the afternoon on a Friday, but that's usually a good crowd at Wrigley. How would you rank them? And we still haven't had Rizzo come back. He may come back. He's just starting a rehab assignment. When the Cubs get back home after this long road trip, the Yankees come to town.
Yeah, I think they were pretty equal, even with Willson. I'd put Willson up there just as much anytime. I mean, it's just the roar of the crowd and just people being excited. You also had it was one Puerto Rican. They had a bunch of different a lot of Tiger fans, and obviously Tiger fans don't have as high of an opinion as we do of Javy. But it was definitely, the crowd just loves them every time, these 2016 guys, but especially Bryant, Willson, Javy. I thought it was just on par with all of them, in my opinion.
All right, excellent. Let's get into game number 1. Again, of course, that was Tuesday night, and Javier Assad took the ball for the Northside baseball team.
Yeah, we didn't get the starting pitchers for any of these games until the day of the start, and pretty late within that. So it was so goofy, Dustin. It was like 3 openers. I don't recall ever seeing a series where there was 3 different openers. This was Alex Faedo making his 6th start of the season. He just went 1 2/3 innings. He gave up 1 hit and 1 walk before being pulled. Javier Assad got the start for the Cubs and ran into some trouble in the 2nd inning with 1 out. He gave up 3 straight singles to Spencer Torkelson, Jace Young, and Dylan Dingler. These are all real names, people, to put the Tigers up 1-0. With runners still at first and second, 1 out, and 1 already in the bank, Javy Baez comes up to bat. He gets a loud standing ovation, acknowledges the crowd with the tip of the hat. He struck out on a pitch, Dustin, that was about 8 inches outside of the strike zone. I'm not even kidding you. Assad got Parker Meadows to fly out to end the threat, but the Cubs were down 1-0. Brian Sammons would come into the game in the 2nd, and he would hold the Cubs scoreless through the 4th inning. Even though the Cubs had their chances, the Cubs offense left 2 on in the 1st, 2 on in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th. But by the 5th inning, the Cubs hadn't scored in 16 consecutive innings, and it was looking like more of the same. Uncompetitive at bats, leaving runners in scoring position. I was wondering if they were going to get shut out again at that point,
Oh, it sure felt that way.
But the 5th inning was when the momentum really changed in this one. Javier Assad gave up a leadoff triple to catcher Dylan Dingler. It wasn't really played that well off the wall by Cody Bellinger. I mean, I'm sure he has to learn kind of the odds and ends. Right field is crazy. I've talked to the Hawk, Andre Dawson, about it a bajillion times. There's so many weird bounces and, caroms and stuff. And so now the Tigers are up 1-0. They got a runner at 3rd with no outs. First up is Javy Baez, who is called out on strikes. There are 2 sweepers that he swung at that were, again, about 8 inches outside the zone. Assad would then strike out Parker Meadows looking and Riley Green swinging. So that leadoff triple is stranded. 3 strikeouts for Javier Assad. He's pumped up. The crowd's pumped up. And now we get to the bottom of the inning, right? Miguel Amaya lines out to left to start the inning, but that ball was laced, had an exit velocity of 105. It was cracked off the bat, just unfortunately didn't get out that night. Ian Happ drew a walk, and Michael Busch would single. Say would strike out on 3 pitches for the second out, but then Cody Bellinger would double to right to score Happ and Busch. But Cody is easily thrown out at third. Another base running blunder. Either way, Cubs take a 2-1 lead. So much stuff that has to be cleaned up between this season.
The base running, the base running is really
atrocious.
It's atrocious, and it happened all through this series. Guys were making outs on bases that they should not have been at.
Now, Javier Assad got the first 2 outs in the 6th inning. He gave up a single to Colton Keith that was rocket at Nico. He couldn't make the play. The ball had an exit velocity of 100 miles an hour. Assad stays done. He went 5 2/3, gave up 1 run on 6 hits, only 1 walk and 7 Ks. I thought that was one of the better outings we've seen from Assad lately. First out of the pen.
Really was. I mean, probably the best outing, definitely since the All-Star break, without a doubt.
Now, the first out of the pen for Craig Counsell was Tyson Miller. Spencer Torkelson to put runners at the corner, but Miller got Jace Young to strike out to end the threat. Bottom of the 6th, Cubs got an insurance run courtesy of Dansby Swanson, a solo home run through the wind in left, his 10th of the year. Miller would pitch a clean 7th, getting Javier Baez a strikeout, and Drew Smiley pitched a scoreless 8th. That takes us to the 9th inning, and we'll talk about this in segment 3. Hector Neris no longer on the team. So much going on since the last time we talked. So the question was, who was going to get the 9th inning? And the answer was Porter Hodge. Called up to the Bigs on May 17th, sent down to Iowa on June 7th, and called back up on June 19th, where he's played an integral role in the pen ever since. First batter he faced was Spencer Torkelson, who doubled the center field. He really drilled that ball. Torkelson has been up and down with the Tigers and their AAA affiliate all season, but he was 4 for 4 with the double that game. So have a game, Spencer Torkelson. So you go, okay, here we go again with this closer drama, right? Remember, Jorge Lopez gave up a home run to the first guy he sees. Porter Hodge gives up that double, but then he strikes out Jace Young, gets Dylan Dingler to pop out for the second out. So now, Dustin, top of the 9th, Cubs are leading 3-1. Porter Hodge trying to save a game for the second time, and the tying run is at the home plate in the top of the 9th for Javier Baez. I love that baseball is so poetic. Like, what are the odds?
Right. What are the chances? Right. Absolutely.
So
and he's batting 9th, right? He's in the 9 hole for them.
He's batting 9th. He's hitting 200. It's been a brutal season, and now he has a chance to be a hero. Instead, Porter Hodge strikes him out to end the game, his second save of the season, and the Cubs win 3-1. If you're watching this on the 670 The Score YouTube channel, this was just an example of just one pitcher against Baez, but they were doing this the entire time, and we know his weakness. You could just see all the pitches are outside of the zone away. Sweeper, sweeper, sweeper. 4 of the 5 pitches to Javier Baez were off-speed sweepers to the outside. And again, some of the pitches weren't even close. It was unbelievable. So not the homecoming he was looking for 0 for 4 with the golden sombrero. He struck out with a runner at first and second with only 1 out in his first at bat. He struck out in the 5th with a runner at 3rd and no outs. Struck out in the 7th, and he struck out in the 9th with a runner at 2nd.
0 for 4 with 4 Ks. Wow. Yep.
Golden sombrero. He struck, and so his other teammates weren't that much better. The Cubs out-hit the Tigers out-hit the Cubs 9-5. Spencer Torkelson had nearly as many hits as the entire Cubs offense. But the Tigers were 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position. They left 8 men on base, while the Cubs were 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position and left 5 men on base. Cody Bellinger 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs, and Dansby was 1 for 2 with a walk and a solo home run. So the one hit with runners in scoring position drove in 2 runs. That was the difference of the game.
All right, we'll take that one. Cubs fans will take that one. Let's move into game number 2. Jameson Taillon and the Tigers going with a bullpen game.
Another opener, 3 openers. Bo Brisky was this one. The Cubs, Jameson Taillon has been struggling lately. Wednesday night was no different. First batter he faced, Parker Meadows doubled. He walked the next batter, Riley Green, to put 2 on with no outs, but he was able to squirm out of that inning without giving up any runs. He didn't get that lucky in the second. He gave up a leadoff walk to Jace Young, and Trey Sweeney hit a basket home run to center. The basket giveth, Basket taketh away. Cubs are
Sure
down
does.
2-0.
Sure does.
Tyone would give up a double to Parker Meadows, his second of the game, and then gave up a 2-run homer to Riley Green, the second 2-run homer of the inning, and the Cubs now trail 4-0. Tyone sat down the next 9 Tigers before giving up a single to Kerry Carpenter in the 5th. And Cole Keith doubled to put runners at second and third with 2 outs, but he struck out Spencer Torkelson to end the threat. Tyone's night was over, pitching 5 innings, giving up 4 runs on 6 hits with 2 walks and 5 Ks while giving up 2 home runs. Tyone has been trending in the wrong direction since the All-Star game. Pre-All-Star game, he was 7-4 with a 3.10 RA. He gave up 12 home runs in 93 innings before the All-Star game. After the All-Star game, Dustin, 1-4, 5.61 ERA, and he's given up 7 home runs in 33 and 2/3 innings pitch.
That's not good. That's not good. No.
Nope. And
I
as
went
we
to
said,
public school, and I know that's not good.
And as we said, the Tigers, all of a sudden, another bullpen game, second day in a row. Bo Brisky started, and he pitched 2 shutout innings. Brant Hunter was next out of the pen for the Tigers. He rolled through the Cubs batting order in the 3rd and 4th, but they got to him in the 5th inning. Nico single, Dansby grounded into a force out. Nico's out at second, Dansby safe at first. But then Christian Bethancourt homered, and the Cubs now trailed 4-2. Who saw that one coming, right?
The bottom of the order, the catching position, the catching position basically since the All-Star break has been one of the top 3 offensive positions on this team after being absolutely hot garbage for the beginning of the season.
Yeah, between that and the bullpen, the turnaround's been amazing.
Well, we could talk about that, but okay.
Yeah, the Cubs bullpen did a good job keeping this one close, right?
They did do a good job keeping it close. I think there's different parts of the bullpen I think we need to look at, but go ahead.
Nate Pearson was first out of the pen. He pitched 2 innings and gave up only 1 hit. Julian Merriweather had a nice 1-2-3 8th inning. Unfortunately, the Cubs could not get the big hit. 6th inning, 2 on, 2 out for Nico. He grounds out to end the threat. 7th inning, the Cubs had runners at first and second, only 1 out. Ian Happ struck out looking, and Patrick Wisdom just got under 1, landed about 10 feet shy of the warning track. That takes us to top of the 9th, and the Cubs are down 4-2, and Craig Counsell decides to put new kid up, call up Jack Neely into the game. He is 6'8", 245 pounds. He's been lights out in Iowa. Didn't start out good. He walked former Cub prospect Zach McCrinstry to start the inning. Gets the next 2 outs, but then he gave up back-to-back singles to Parker Meadows and Riley Green. That makes it 5-2. And then Kerry Carpenter with the dagger, 3-run homer to end this one. Really, the Cubs would go on to lose 8-2. Not the debut Neely was looking for. But again, Neely wouldn't have been pitching in that situation if the Cubs offense could do anything. They scored 2 runs on 6 hits. They only had 1 extra base hit, that homer by Bethancourt. They were 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. They left 6 men on base. Ian Happ, Michael Busch, Cody Bellinger, Isaac Paredes, Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson. They were a combined 2 for 23. The only runs came off the bat of their 32-year-old backup catcher who they picked up off the scrap heap when the Marlins DFA'd him. Where's the production, Dustin, from the Stars?
Right, exactly. When will the stars that are supposed to be stars, that are paid like stars, that bat where stars bat, act like stars? Will they do it in game number 3? That's what's next. We've got the rubber game of this series, afternoon affair. Justin Steele finally taking the ball for the Northside baseball team.
Yep, and again, 3rd straight game, the Tigers were going with the opener strategy. Tyler Holton pitched a 1-2-3 first inning. Maybe they should have stuck with him a little longer. 2nd inning, Kenta Maeda was the first out of the pen, and he gives up a leadoff single to Seiya Suzuki. Michael Busch would fly out for the first out, and then you'd have back-to-back singles by Nico and Dansby to load the bases. With 1 out, PCA struck out. I'm going, oh, God, they're going to strand this, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
But then Miguel Amaya picked up his teammate, crushing the first pitch he saw to the left field bleachers. Cubs are up 4-0. Bottom of the 3rd, Maeda loads the bases with no outs. Nico grounds out, but a run scores to make it 5-0. But Dansby comes up with runners at 2nd and 3rd. He hits a ground ball to Javy, who throws out Seiya at the plate for out number 2. Dansby will steal 2nd to put runners at 2nd and 3rd. PCA grounds out to end the threat. And you kind of got worried there, like, oh, that was one where you really left runners on base there. But in the 4th inning, Ian Happ doubled, and Cody Bellinger hit a 2-out single to extend the lead to 6-0 Cubs. Meanwhile, Justin Steele was looking better than we've seen him, Dustin, in a long, long time. He gave up 2 singles, no walks in his first 6 innings. And out of those, and one of those singles was wiped out with a double play. He retired 18 of the 19 batters he faced after Matt Bierling led off the game with a single. In the end, Dustin, he pitched 7 innings and he gave up 4 hits, 2 runs. 2 of those hits, and that it was a home run he gave up in the 7th. 2 of the hits and both of the runs came in the 7th inning. Didn't walk a single batter, and he struck out 10. This was prime grade A Justin Steele right here.
Yeah, Justin Steele was fantastic. We talked about it this morning on the Mully and Haw show that the Cubs ace, the opening day starter, needed to set a tone. This was a must-win statement game for the Cubs, and they absolutely delivered.
And so, yeah, and you know, after he gave up those 2 runs, the Cubs got him back in a few more with 2 outs. Michael Busch walk, Nico single to put runners at first and second. Dansby hit an RBI single to score Busch to put the Cubs up 7-2. With Dansby at first and Nico at second, they executed a double steal. Now you got runners at second and third. PCA would double to score both runners to make it 9-2. Miguel Amaya is not done with his day. He caps this 2-out rally with a single to make it 10-2. So Dustin, 4 runs, all with 2 outs. With the Cubs getting shut out the night before and blowing out the Tigers in this one, they were able to rest their high leverage bullpen arms like Jorge Lopez, Porter Hodge, Tyson Miller. Good to see they get a couple days off, Dustin. Ethan Roberts pitched in the 8th, and in a cool move by Craig Counsell, he puts Jack Neely in the night after he gets shelled in his MLB debut.
That was pretty cool. Yep. I was wondering if he was going to do that as I was sitting on my couch, and he did, and I think that was the right move. Put a good taste in the kid's mouth, right?
Right. You know, it was a bad start. It couldn't have gone any worse. And here's the thing. You know what they do? They call, I think you guys mentioned it on the Mully Hall as well about how he found out that he was going to Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did they turn the bus around?
Yeah, they turned the bus around, right? Absolutely.
And you know, he gets up there, and of course his family and friends are at Wrigley Field, and I'm sure they're staying at the Hotel Zachary, all the exciting stuff, and he gets just demolished. But then they put him back out there, and he sits there. He strikes out the first 2 batters he faced. He walked a batter, but then got Jake Rogers to fly out 10 the game. My friend Scotty Changone, who takes a lot of the pictures on for Cubs at Cubs, he and Marquis, he had an awesome picture of the final out ball that was going to be given to Jack Neely. But very cool of Counsell to do that, I thought.
Yeah, it was the right move. Now they've got an unbelievable road trip. The last long one. It's 9 games, 3 cities, 10 days, right? We're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm just really glad that, you know, they finished on a high note. But again, we just cannot have the inconsistencies. I know you're going to have a bad day, and you're going to face some tough pitchers. That's going to happen. You're going to face your Jacob deGroms in the world. You're going to face your Corbin Burns of the world. And I'm not going to be mad if the Cubs can't score 10 runs against that. But you can't do it against a bullpen game or some kid making his debut or some guy that some team grabbed off the scrap heap that was DFA'd. You have to sit there and put those type of pitchers away. The time for excuses with that is over. I love winning series. And again, 2 out of 3, always going to do you pretty darn good, but not in this situation anymore. They got to win 6 in a row at some point. They got to win 9 out of 10 at some point. It has to start building up.
You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast, season 3, episode 68, Javy Baez's return to Wrigley. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. You can also email us at flythew670gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us, that's right, on the 670 The Score YouTube page. See a little bit of our bells and whistles, if you will. So Crawly, again, Javy Baez returning. You were at the game. We talked a little bit about the atmosphere. You also had a great picture on your social media that I also retweeted and brought up on the Score.
Yeah, so everyone loves Murphy's. Murphy's has been around forever. Everyone remembers even before that it was raised bleachers. It has been the home of many a Cubs, both players and employees go there afterwards. And if you don't know Murphy's, they got a sign outside, and they've always been a little bit snarky, a little bit edgy, right? I remember when the Fox Sports for the World Series, they were set up in a parking lot across the street from Waveland and Sheffield. That's where they were. And Pete Rose was on there, and they had a sign that said Pete Rose bet on the Cubs. You know, they're always going to be kind of snarky, a little bit like that. And so the sign that they put up there was Welcome back, Javy. We sure don't miss that batting average, referring to that really bad batting average. Dustin, that tweet got over 100,000 views, and I got a lot of people angry at me, I guess, for putting it up there, at Murphy's for making the sign. I thought it was all in good fun. I didn't take it that serious. Did you?
Yeah, I didn't either. It made me laugh. He's no longer here. I mean, come on. If you can't have a good laugh, it's not like it was. I mean, he's playing terrible. It is what it is. Get over it. I mean, people are so sensitive.
And not only that, that's Murphy's. That is Murphy's. If you go to Murphy's, if you have a drink at Murphy's, if you know the bouncers and the bartenders, it's just them. It's a joke. It's a joke.
What they do. That's what they do. Right. That's what they do. Everybody needs to just lighten up a little tiny bit. I also did find it interesting that he did that on-field interview pregame with Dexter Fowler and Cole Wright. It was short, but I was surprised he did that. And I will tell you, Crawly, if I was a Detroit Tiger fan, and I am thankful I am not a Tigers fan, I would have been absolutely out of my mind.
Well, this is the one you're talking about here, Javy and Dex. And there was a lot done. Honestly, they have not been playing Javy. They didn't play him in the second game. There was a lot of deferential treatment because of Javy's return, and I think people respect that. I'd be surprised, Dustin, if Javy starts the majority of games at shortstop from here on out.
They might eat his contract. They might DFA him.
Dustin, it was sad because, I'm at the game, and we all know Javy had a propensity to swing sometimes at the low outside, sweepers, the curveballs, the sliders. We all know that. Dustin, he couldn't hit it with a boat oar. I mean, he wasn't even close. It was so sad to see how bad he looked. But I will tell you, just all the nostalgia. I know Marquis tweeted this out when I was coming down to the game, or coming out down to the game. Javy walking around, in from the visitors' clubhouse. They had a camera ready for him right there. And then Javy taking his fielding practice, before the game. And I don't know if he shouted at the employees or vice versa, but there was just so much love. And then, Kyle Hendricks came out while Javy was out there, and they gave each other a hug and they were talking. So it was part of all of those things. And we got some really cool audio clips that kind of, you were talking about that interview with Cole Wright and Dexter Fowler. And so this is what Javy had to say about being back at Wrigley Field.
I don't think so. I think the vibe here and the fans are really special for every team. I mean, for every player.
He's talking about the vibes, the fans, just how much he loved being back. And it truly kind of, like I said, when he came up to get his first at bat, that was it, so emotional. And they were asking him about El Mago and that nickname that he got. Here's what he had to say about it.
At first it was impressive. I didn't know that people were calling me that till, in the baseball classic. And it was like, okay, I understand that it kind of matched my style of playing, and we kept using it.
And when I think about El Mago, Dustin, I think I heard you talking about it with Mully and Hall this morning about the Little League World Series, which just happened last weekend when the Cubs played. And who did all the kids want to run up to? Javy Baez.
Right.
And I think about that Joe Obvious t-shirt, Obvious shirts. Javy Baez is your favorite player's favorite player. I mean, Bryant was special. Rizzo was special. Grandpa Rossi, all these guys, Wilson, they all had this special, but there was a flair that young people loved in Javy Baez, that especially young people. I think old people liked him too, but especially for young people, he had the tattoo, the MLB tattoo and all that thing. I mean, what was your favorite Javy Baez memory, if you think about it?
Well, the one, you may have heard me mention this on the score, the one playoff game that I went to in the 2016 season is when he hit the solo home run in the bat, right, against the Giants. And the place was absolutely shaken. It was absolutely, that was the one playoff game that I got to go to for that whole run. And so it's that one. The second one has to be the one against the Pirates, right? Everybody loves that one. And the other one I'll remember is the Mother's Day home run. That was a really good one too. The walk-off on Mother's Day. Everybody was wearing pink.
The one you're talking about, NLDS Game 1, I was there as well, and I sit in the first row of the third base side. And if you remember that game, it was Johnny Cueto versus John Lester.
Yeah.
and they were pitching. It was a pitcher's duel, mano mano. The wind is blowing in, and all of a sudden, if you remember Johnny Cueto, he does the quick pitch sometimes because his delivery has this weird hitch, and it always threw people off. But on that pitch, he kind of quick pitched it, and Baez hit one that I swear to God, that the one you're talking about, Dustin, if the wind was not howling in, I think that's going down Kenmore. I think that was going to be on the rooftop, a la, Glen Allen Hill. But
Right.
the wind was howling, and he's pimping out this thing, and I'm going, run! Because I can see the trajectory, but the wind is slowly knocking it down, and it just lands into the basket. For me, Dustin, that swim slide is something that I'd never seen before, and now you see players do it. And, I'm going to give you some Bears talk, Dustin. I know you think I'm a one-trick pony, but I think about how Devin Hester just kind of changed the game with the way he returned punts. That's the way I felt about Javy Baez and slides. The way that he did it, people changed the way that they do it, and that was absolutely amazing. He was asked about how much he thinks about 2016.
Probably every day, to be honest. I got a tattoo of the trophy, so that's always gonna be special. I still got the ring. I always try to take it everywhere so nobody steal it. But it's always there, always on my mind, and I was trying to remember that year that the way we played. It was like we weren't afraid to anyone, and especially the other team. It was like asking them to score runs that we knew we were going to score runs. So that's the feeling that we need to have here, and I think we got the talent to do it.
So he's talking about the Tigers, but when he said that, it was the one thing that I think we got spoiled about with that run, Dustin, on 2016 is in that year, it was like the Bulls and Jordan. It didn't matter how far they were down. It didn't matter how out they looked, 3-1 in the World Series. They always believed and had that swagger that we were going to come back. You're not going to beat us. And they made us believe so much,
Yep. No, it was great. I mean, he was fantastic. He's electric. I just don't understand. I don't understand how he fell so far so fast. Is it the money? I mean, what happened?
I think, Dustin, is that his skill set is something you can't teach. You can't teach it with the batting coach. You can't teach it, at some sort of academy. It's something that was just naturally instinctive, and he was young and fast and powerful. And as you age, and he's had some back issues as well, I think that's just something I thought his skill set is one that's going to go down quick. Very similar. I was talking to a friend of mine, K-Fids on Twitter, and he also brought up, he said same thing with Morel's going to happen, is a guy that has a natural, weird, freakish athletic ability. But, he's not going to be like a guy like Joey Votto, who just retired, who could constantly change his game and adjust his game. I think that's kind of the big difference. I don't think it's the money. People asked after 2020 if not having fans in there affected him, or not being in a stadium where people loved him like they did in Chicago. Here's what Javy had to say about that.
It was really hard, especially that year. I think that's when everything started falling, with my body and the energy and the motivation without the fans. It was really weird that year. Especially with the time of the game, we only play like half of the season or so. I think second half is really, really big for me too, and can do different stuff. But I can't talk through my body. I think my body is the issue, and it was the issue in the past. So just trying to deal with that right now.
So he brings up his body, his
body. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, he was asked about the fact, like you said, like the sign at Murphy said, that batting average, about the results. And here's what Javy had to say.
Not really. I mean, it hurts, obviously, that I'm not getting my results in baseball. But, that doesn't take from me of working hard and coming every day to try it again.
I mean, it hurts me to see how bad he's doing, because I wanted him to succeed, just not against the Cubs. And it's hard as a Cub fan to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense. I understand where you're coming from on it. It makes, the guys look smart that they didn't pay him, right? because
Yep.
gosh, we'd be cursing him out. I wonder how much too, before we move on to another former Cub, what do you think? Do you think there's a mental aspect of this? The fact that he declined that contract, then COVID came, and then the contract never comes back, and he just mentally can't get. Again, he's a very rich man. He's got generational wealth, unless he's doing something really dumb. But he could have had more earlier and still been here, and then who knows?
I mean, 165 million, like you said, is enough. I really do think it's again, the fact that his skill set was based on the way that his energy and freakish athleticism was. And I just think that as his body breaks down, he just doesn't have that ability to do those things that he once did. Now, Dustin, I don't want to feel old here, but we're going to be talking here. It's going to be pretty soon. 2016 being 8 years ago. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, for sure. I even hear it from my teammates. Some of my teammates were in college when we won in 2016. So obviously they think it's
How does that make you feel? You got to feel.
I feel old. That's what I say. I feel old in baseball and young in life. I'm like, what is this? But it's part of it. Obviously really excited to be back and trying to show this guy that here is a different vibe and people really care about the sport.
And I've heard the same thing from Chris Bryant. He's now like the old guy in the clubhouse teaching the young guys how, he's the Grandpa Rossi now. Baez talking about his teammates being in college when he won the World Series. It's so hard because it feels like yesterday, and it doesn't help that I surround myself full of World Series merchandise, but it's just unbelievable.
You spent a couple bucks on merch, huh?
Yeah. One last thing. Here's Javy's message to the fans, and we'll just let's just end it right here on this one, because I think it's important that fans hear directly from Javy.
No, to be honest, to other fans out there, especially here in Chicago, thank you. Thank you for all the time that you guys spend in sport, not just in baseball. I think our players, we did a lot to the community. Especially Tony Rizzo, that he did a lot for the city, and John Lester. I mean, you can really mention anyone,
sure.
but they really care about the team, the sport, and obviously winning too.
All right, so that's what Baez had to say on his return to Wrigley Field. I wonder if there'll be a next return for him, and I guess the next guy to come through maybe is going to be Anthony Rizzo. He is just starting a rehab assignment with the Yankees. And somebody we may not see again is Jason Hayward in a surprise move today, Crawly. I saw that he was DFA'd by the Dodgers. That kind of surprised me because he's been playing pretty good.
He's a platoon player, and they have a lot of really good young talent. How long you want to keep that going? They have enough veterans on that team that they don't need his veteran presence. They don't need any locker room speech. So I'm just wondering if Jay Hay is the next 2016 Cub to be out of baseball.
Be out of baseball. Wow, that would be something. You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast. It is episode 88. It is season 3, Javy's return to Wrigley. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. You can email us at flythew670gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us on the 670 The Score YouTube page. All right, Crawly. So there are games still being played right now, but how does it stand? I know Cubs were 5.5 out in the wild card. Crazy week. They jumped the Cardinals at one point, right? They jumped the Cardinals. Yesterday, the Reds pulled even, and the Cubs won today, so we'll have to see what happens next.
Right now, as we're recording this, I clipped this about 5 minutes before we jumped on. The Cubs are in third place by percentage points. They have the same amount of wins, one more loss than the Cardinals. And like you said, the Reds are half a game behind that. They have one less win than the Cubs. And then Pittsburgh is 13.5 back. That wild card that we're all looking at, the Cubs are 5 games out. St. Louis 4.5, San Francisco 3.5, the Mets 1.5, and Atlanta's starting to right the ship after struggling a bit. They're 6-4 in their last 10.
So the Cardinals won today. They shut out the Brewers, and the Reds and Pirates are playing today. And then when we move into we got to start scoreboard watching, right? So the Reds and Pirates are playing again on Friday. So they must be having an extended series there, yeah. 4-game series there. And then over the weekend, let's see what's happening with the other teams we got to worry about. So the Mets are against the Padres, Braves, and Nationals. And the Cardinals, let's see what the Cardinals are doing this weekend, Crawly. I'm trying to look really quick. Cardinals.
Hopefully they're losing is what I'm hoping
They
for.
are at the Twins, so that's not easy. So they're at the Twins this weekend. So go Twins. All right, news and notes. Big news out of Cubs camp, of course, after we recorded this thing, is that Hector Neris is bye-bye. No longer a member of the Cubs. He has been DFA'd.
Yep. And so, that Dustin, this is going to be one we're going to come back to because he did clear waivers, and guys, I think they finalized it that he is back with Houston, but it doesn't matter because the Cubs are on the hook for his contract because no one picked him up on waivers. So Neris signed with the Cubs last winter, a 1-year, $9 million contract that included a team option for 2025. Now, Dustin, this is where I'm very curious about this, right? That team option would have turned into a player option if Neris appeared in 60 games in 2024 or he saves 45 of them. But that part of the deal disappears now that he's cleared waivers and he's released. And so he appeared in 46 games for the Cubs this season, 14 games short of turning that option, that $9 million option, into a player's option for 2025. So now the Cubs don't have to worry about him hitting that 60 mark, and they don't have to pay him $9 million next season. I just wonder if the union's going to look a little bit down on that, Dustin.
They can look all they want. I mean, the rest of the league basically agreed with the Cubs, right? I mean, he has been picked up by the Astros, but I don't know if the contract is do they pick up the contract as well? Does that option work if he hits the threshold?
No, the option is done. That is not happening. He's not getting $9 million.
Nobody would have picked him up for that $9 million option. Nobody.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but in his last 18 games, dating back to June 22nd, even with that blown save that he had on Friday, he had a 2.60 ERA. So it's not like it wasn't like he was horrendous. He gave us all heart attacks. He never made it easy. He had 5 blown saves. That's one less than, say, Aroldis Chapman right now. There's other guys that are kind of in that same boat. But to seriously say we absolutely have no use for him on this team, that was done specifically to not hit that mark. And I'm not saying.
I mean, I'm sure the union will have a beef, but I mean, beef. What are they going to do about it, right?
It's just something to keep in mind. Jack Neely was called up and took the 40-man roster spot. We talked about that. He came over in the Mark Leiter train. In 11 games as a Yankee, Leiter has a 6.48 ERA and has allowed 2 home runs. He's been brutal for them.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. All right, so other good news is Jordan Wicks is throwing a little bit. He's going to make at least one more start before we being Cub fans, figure out exactly what the Cubs are going to do with him. So one more rehab start, and I'd like to see him back up personally.
It'd be great. We'll see what happens. But right now, you got to focus on your favorite, the Marlins, Dustin.
The Marlinas. Cubs down in Miami to take on the Marlinas.
Right. The Cubs faced the Marlins in April in a 4-game series in April. The Thursday game was rained out. The Cubs took game 2 on Friday, 8-3, with Jameson picking up the win. The Marlins took the first game of a doubleheader 3-2. The Cubs had a 2-1 lead going in the 9th, but Adbert Alzolay gave up a 2-run homer to Brian De La Cruz for his 4th blown save. The Cubs took the nightcap 5-3. They were down 3-1, but scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 6th. The Cubs dropped the finale on Sunday 6-3 as Hendricks was roughed up for 4 runs on 6 hits in 4 innings. The offense went a whopping 3 for 16 with runners in scoring position in that game. But that is not the same team the Cubs are facing now. It's almost a completely different team. The Marlins raised the white flag on May 3rd, just 34 games into the season, trading all-star Luis Arias to the Padres. Since then, they've traded their closer Tanner Scott, relievers Huascar Barzbatón and JT Charngas, starting pitcher Travis Rogers, starter swingman Brian Hoeing, outfielder Brian De La Cruz, outfielder Chaz Chisholm, and first baseman Josh Bell. I don't even know who's still on this team, Dustin.
Yeah, not a whole lot of people, not household names, that's for sure. The one guy they still got is Berger, right? The old Cub.
Jake Berger, old White Sox, yeah.
I'm sorry, the old White Sox, yeah, the old White Sox player. All right, so tail of the tape time, Crawly. Tail of the tape.
All right, well, we take a look at batting average. The Marlins have the advantage, 239, which is 19th in all of baseball, while the Cubs are behind them at 23rd with a 234 batting average. The Marlins are a very good slugging team, 368 slug. That's 4th in all of baseball, while the Cubs are 10th in slug at 384. Runners in scoring position, the Marlins are at 249. Not bad there. They got the advantage over the Cubs, who are at 226, which is 28th in baseball. Starting pitching ERA. This is where it all comes down, Dustin, is that their starting pitching is awful. The Cubs have the 6th best starting pitching ERA with 378, while the Marlins have the 29th. Only the White Sox have a worse starting pitching. And so that's 522 for the Marlins. As far as reliever, the Cubs relief, Dustin, 8th in all of baseball, 363, while the Marlins is 16th at 402. Defense, the Cubs are 19th in baseball with 6 defensive runs saved. The defense, like I said, has not looked good lately, but the Marlins are way worse, 26 in all baseball with negative 19 defensive run saves. When you look at the difference between these two teams, it comes down to starting pitching and defense, and the Cubs really, truly have the advantage in both of those categories.
Yes, and that will be the difference, I believe, when we start talking about the matchup. So let's move into Friday night, please, and it's Kyle Hendricks taking the ball for the Northside baseball team.
Yeah, Kyle Hendricks versus Max Meyer. Hendricks is 3-10 this season with a 6.35 ERA in 22 games, 17 of those starts with 67 strikeouts and 96 in the third innings. Because of the days off, the Cubs skipped 2 of Kyle's starts, and they pushed back his start against Detroit, gave it to Steele, right? So he pitched well in his last outing against the Blue Jays on Friday, going 5 innings and giving up 1 run on 5 hits with no walks and 2 Ks. The only run came on sloppy play by the defense. Kyle is 3-2 lifetime against the Marlins in 8 starts with a 1.86 ERA. Only 3 of the Marlins hitters have faced Kyle. None of them have more than 2 at-bats against him, but Jesus Sanchez is 2 for 2 with the home run. So Kyle better watch out for him.
All right, what do we need to know about Max Meyer?
Yeah, he's a 24-year-old righty, picked number 3 in the 2020 draft overall in baseball. Made his major league debut for the Marlins on July 16, 2022. Gave up 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings in that start against the Phillies. But in his next start in the Pirates, in 1 inning of work, he came out after a couple of batters, had to have Tommy John surgery. He missed all of 2022 and the rest of 2022 and all of 2023. He came off the IL on April 15th, started a few games in April for the Marlins, but then was sent back to the minors. He was called back on July 27th, right before the trade deadline. He's 3-3 with a 5.58 ERA in 8 games started this season, 33 strikeouts and 40 1/3 innings. Myers pitched 4 games in August, and he's given up at least 4 runs in each of them. He has never faced the Cubs, and no Cubs have any bats against him. He does feature a slider, a 4-seam fastball, and a changeup.
All right, game number 2.
Shota Imanaga gets the start on this one. He's 9-3 with a 3.11 ERA and 23 starts and 137 strikeouts and 133 1/3 innings pitch. Shota hasn't gone as deep into games lately. 2 starts ago, he pitched 5 innings against the Guardians and gave up 3 runs on 7 hits and 2 home runs. In the last start against the Blue Jays, he pitched 5 innings, gave up 1 run on 4 hits, 1 solo home run. He was the tough luck loser on that one. Shota's given up a home run in 7 out of his last 8 games, and in 3 of those games, he's given up 2 home runs. So the long balls, which we knew before he even got signed, is kind of starting to show up a little bit. Shota's faced Miami once. He gave up 3 runs on 5 hits, only 2 of them earned in 6 innings of work. Only 2 Marlins have faced Shota, Otto Lopez and Christian Panch, and both of them are hitless and very limited at bats. The Marlins are countering with Valente Bayoso, a 24-year-old right-hander who has pitched in AAA and has been called up a couple times by the Marlins this season. He was an international draft signing by the Astros. He was traded to the Marlins on April 6th for shortstop Jacob Amaya. He has a record of 2-1 with a 2.45 ERA in 6 games started with 27 strikeouts and 33 innings pitched. He made his MLB debut on June 26th and pitched 5 scoreless innings against the Royals. In his next start against the Red Sox on July 2nd, he gave up 5 runs in 5 innings. He was sent back to the minors. He was recalled after the trade deadline, Dustin. He's made 4 starts in August, and he's looked a lot better. He's gone 2-0 with a 1.57 ERA in 4 starts with 18 Ks and 23 innings. And so, again, the Cubs have not faced Bayoso, who features a 4-seam fastball, cutter, sweeper, and changeup.
And then we'll have a Sunday afternoon affair. Javier Assad back out there.
Yep, Javier Assad versus Adam Oler. Assad has a record of 6-3 with a 3.11 ERA and 23 starts and 99 strikeouts and 130 innings pitched. He's looked really good in his last start against the Tigers, went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 1 run on 6 hits with 7 strikeouts. He was much more efficient than his previous outings. Dustin, even though he doesn't go deep into games, Javier hasn't given up more than 2 runs in 4 starts in the month of August. Assad has only faced the Marlins once in his career, giving up 1 run in 4 2/3 innings, which is what Javier Baez has been doing lately. Very few Marlins have faced Assad, and none of them have more than 2 at-bats against him. The Cubs are going to be taking on Adam Oller. He's a 29-year-old righty who's been with multiple organizations, the Pirates, the Giants, the Mets, the A's, where he started 19 games in 2022, but only 1 in 2023. Then he went to the Mariners, the Guardians in 2024. He was cut in July and signed by the Marlins. This guy's been all over and cut by pretty much half the teams in baseball. He's made his first start on Miami on August 19th against the Diamondbacks and went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 5 runs on 3 hits, 4 walks. He's faced the Cubs twice, both times in relief. He's pitched only 2.2 innings and has an ERA of 16. Many of the Cubs have seen Oller, but only have had around 2 or 3 at-bats against him. Isaac Paredes is 1 for 3. Oller features a 4-seam fastball, a slurve, and a cutter.
All right, the hot and the not.
Hot for the Cubs, Cody Bellinger is really the only one I can say that's hot, that's hitting over 300 in the last week.
How about the Cubs catchers? How about the Cubs catchers?
Christian Bethancourt is 1 for 3, but he's got a home run and 2 RBIs. And Miguel Amaya is 4 for 17 with a 235 average. So everybody's kind of
put those together. That's not bad.
It's all right. And the Colts,
that position,
everyone else. Isaac Paredes, 1 for his last 20, slashing .050, .050, .050.
Now, Crawly, I know you watch the games. You watch every single pitch or listen to every single pitch of every game. I try to do the same. Did you notice Paredes' very embarrassing moment last night?
No, what happened? What I missed that.
So he swung. It was a heater. He swung through it, missed badly, tripped over his own feet, landed on his rear end, and it was only strike 2, but the catcher tagged him with the ball anyway. It was just embarrassing. Like I might have just said, you know what, that's enough. I'm tapping out. Like strike 3, I'm out. I'm going to walk back. It was. You got to see it. It was so embarrassing.
It's he's really having a struggle. He wants to do well, and it reminds me very much of Jeimer Candelario last season, right?
Yeah. All right. So who in this white flag Marlina team, and I see Jake Berger's on there, but not in the hot. He's in the not.
Yeah, Otto Lopez, second baseman, 8 for his last 21 with an RBI, slashing 381, 458, 619. Also look out for second baseman Connor Norby, who's 4 for his last 13. Jake Berger's on the cold list. He's 4 for his last 23, a 174 average, but just, you got to remember his power. He has 2 home runs and 3 RBIs. So he's got the weird slash line of 174, 269, but 522 slug. Jesus Sanchez is 3 for his last 17. So be careful there.
All right. So that's the hot and the not. It's prediction time, Crawly. I'm going to go first. I think I said they were going to sweep the Tigers. I was wrong. They took 2 out of 3. I am going for the sweep again. Get out the brooms. Cubs are going to sweep the Marlinas down in Miami, and we are going to have ourselves something to talk about on Monday.
Yeah, I said 2 for 3 for Tigers. I wasn't confident, but luckily Justin Steele and Miguel Amaya closed it down. I have the Cubs taking game 1 and game 3. This is what scares me. A rookie pitcher, a scrap heap guy, and another rookie pitcher. I think they're going to lose that Valente Belloso. I got a feeling that guy's going to have a game of his life.
So you got him 2 of 3 again. All right, I got the sweep. Crawly's got 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 is just not going to cut it. Well, that's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Follow on the socials, Facebook, Instagram. We're on Twitter. You can email us, flythew670gmail.com, and watch us by using that 670 The Score YouTube channel. You got to subscribe. Crawly, enjoy the weekend. An afternoon game on Saturday, too, late afternoon, so a 3:10 start for those wondering. So night game, late afternoon, and then 12:40 on Sunday. Enjoy the weekend.
Should be good, and hopefully the Cubs can get out of that house of horrors in Miami that they always seem to struggle in with all 3 victories. Go Cubs! Hey guys, it's Crawly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Go Cubs!